Now, for a variety of reasons, your editor might not be able to send you a bunch of files and an associated XML file. So as a colorist on your end, what you might receive is one exported file. So let's jump over into Resolve and let's see how we can take care of this, color the footage, and then export it back out. Now, I've already imported the footage here into Resolve. So what I'm going to do is right-click, Scene Cut Detection, and then what I'll do at the bottom here is click on the button Auto Scene Detect. And of course, now you can see all those green bars are where Resolve thinks a cut point within the video is. Now on the right hand side, you can see where Resolve found 59 cut points, but that's not really correct because of the cross dissolves. So what we can do now is reach out to our editor and ask that they export it again without those added. And now here I have the footage without the cross dissolve, so we're going to go ahead, come down to Scene Cut Detection, go down to Auto Scene Detect, and we have 17 cut points. So let's go one by one and take a look here. Now this isn't really a different scene, so we're going to hit delete. What you want is the scene on the left to be different than the ones on the right. The logic behind that is the two on the left are where the cut point is, and then the one on the right is the scene following. So the scene all the way on the right should actually match the one in the middle. So now we can add clips to the media pool. And as you can see, that's exactly what it's done. Every cut point is its own video. So now let's go ahead, let's select all the files, and we can go ahead and drag them down into the timeline. And we've basically reconstructed the video now. Now what I'm doing here is adding more cut points. As you can see, it's the same scene, but it cuts in a little bit, so I'm going to add a cut point right there. So right now we can start adjusting the footage so that we're ready to color. So let's go ahead and we can adjust the gamma, because as you can see, this is C-Log footage and it's a little underexposed. So we'll lift up the gamma a little bit, and then we'll come into the lift and we'll drop that a little bit to bring the blacks down. And then we'll come back into the gain and we'll lift that up so we can bring the whites up. Now what I've done in this next shot is already graded one of these clips. Then I grab the still, and what I'll do here is select two clips on the timeline. I'll go back to the still that I got and I'll hit apply grade. And you can see now if we go to both of the clips, they both now have the same color grading. And even though the clips are different, as you can see, one's more punched in than the other, they're still the same environment and it's not too much of a drastic change. So we'll go to the end and we'll select another one of these clips, apply grade, same thing. Now of course, if we come across a clip like this, it doesn't exactly have the same brightness, it doesn't have the same luma. It's a different environment, and that's the problem that you run in when you try to match clips. It's an entirely different scene, so everything doesn't come across as you might expect it to. So what we can do for this clip is go ahead and make some adjustments on our own. So of course we'll come in here, we'll adjust the gamma and make our brightness adjustments. We'll add some contrast and saturation. We'll do a little bit of a white balance, and then we can single out that shirt. This way we can color match it to the previous clips. So I'm going to double click on the still I had before, and as you can see, the colors are a little bit off. And this is a very important part of color grading. You definitely want to shot match your clips, because not only if there's different brightness levels, if the same person is in different scenes and the colors are a little bit off, it is really striking to the viewer. So we can come down here, we can make our adjustments and do a little side-by-side comparison. And now you can see as we flip back and forth between the two, between the skin tone and the shirt, everything is a lot closer. Now the only thing I really want to do with this clip is tone down that sign a little bit. Now we do want to bring attention to it based on the nature of the video, but as you can see by the vector scope, that one line that's jutting out towards the top is the red. So we want to bring that saturation down a little bit, because that's what that vector scope indicates. So we'll come down here, we'll make a selection so that we're only selecting that particular color, and on that same node we'll make our adjustments and bring down the saturation. Now with these particular clips, I don't want to mess with them too much, because when it comes to things like this, there's a certain color scheme that was chosen ahead of time. So in this case, what I'll do is it's a little bit bright. You can see that the whites are gathered across the top, so we can bring down the whites just a little bit. But in reference to the colors, I don't really want to adjust the hue. What I would rather do is reference the vector scope. And as you can see in the bottom right corner, the blues are pretty strong. So what we can do is isolate those using the hue versus sat curve. That way we can lower the saturation only for that specific region. Because again, I don't want to start moving the colors around. I just want to lower the intensity of a couple things. Now the last thing we're going to discuss is what is referred to as power windows. So basically you can make your adjustments. You can adjust the gamma and the contrast, the color, everything along those lines. But In addition to that, you can direct the viewer's eye to a certain part of the frame. And this is similar to when you're editing photos and you create a vignette. You're darkening the outside of the image and then you're bringing the attention towards the center. But with this, you can either brighten certain parts of the image or you can darken them. And what I'm attempting to do here is to darken the table just a little bit so you're not so focused on those reflections necessarily, and your eye goes up to our subjects who are, of course, are looking at the laptop. And with footage of the laptop being the next clip, it all falls into place. For the remainder of our clips, which I won't go into here, I may end up using windows. Again, I may brighten up certain parts of the image, darken certain parts of the image. For these clips here, what I'll probably do is try to match the sky as best I can, maybe bring down the saturation a little bit, and the same thing with this footage here. Now once we have everything adjusted the way that we want, we'll come into the Export tab. So I'll come over here to File, and I'll give it a specific name. We'll head over to Audio, make sure that everything looks the way we want it to, and then we'll come over into Video. Now we don't want to use H.264 because that's a compressed codec, and that will be great if we're trying to be efficient and we're trying to export this for something like YouTube. But because it's going to be edited a little bit more and exported again, we're going to have to use a different codec. Now Premiere Gal and I have already spoken, so what I'll do is go over into QuickTime, and her machine is able to read DNx HD. So I'm going to choose the codec that I think would work the best, make sure that my frame rate is correct. Now on my end, what I want to do is export these as individual clips. And the logic behind that is once she receives the clips on her end, she can add the transitions and the fades back in. So once everything looks good, we can add to render queue, make sure that it pops over on that side. But before we start rendering anything, let's go ahead and make sure it's rendering what we want it to. So if we look at the bottom here, it says the entire timeline, and we can see that everything is selected. So now we can go ahead and start our render. So once we have all those files, we can go to a website like this, WeTransfer, and we can send those files back over to our editor. So as always, thanks for watching. If you haven't checked out Kelsey's channel over on Premiere Gal, please do. There's a ton of great tutorials over there that I highly recommend. If you guys like what we did here, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you guys are interested in a more extensive tutorial about exactly what I did here, let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.